Hey, welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps, where we talk about everything political from the conservative point of view, all the way from dog catcher up to, I don't know, monarchs around the world, even the Pope, foreign dignitaries, all that stuff. And we give that to you so you can make informed decision at the ballot box. So let's get this show on the road. Let's welcome our melodious mate all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's Lloyd Mendenhall.
Welcome. How do, Art? Hello in the chat. How y'all doing?
Howdy. Yeah. So how's the weather there in
Actually, pretty nice today. It was, it wasn't extremely hot. I mean, it got into the low 80s, but yesterday it got kind of warm. It got almost to 90. So,
wow.
Yeah. But today's been cooler. We had rain this morning. We got more rain coming in. It's just, but they're talking about this being one of the coldest summers in Oklahoma history. So, it's fine. I don't like the 100+ degrees with 90% humidity anyways.
Yeah.
Hello, Joe. How you doing?
Hey, Joe. Here, it's been nice. We've been in the upper 70s. We might be close to 80 tomorrow. And then the weather's going to cool down. We'll be in the 60s with rain. So that's what's going on here. Hello, Brian. Good to see you.
Hey, Brian.
We're building up that audience slowly. We got the big weekend coming up. We got Memorial Day. I almost said Labor Day, but I didn't.
Is that this weekend or the following weekend?
This weekend. Yeah, because it's always on the last Monday of the month.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Because the 31st
it is this weekend, so
week from tomorrow. Yeah. And so that's what's going on here. Big news is the big beautiful bill passed the House. And one of the things in the bill is no tax on tips.
And they got the no tax on, I think they got all of those. No tax on Social Security, no tax on tips.
Overtime?
Overtime, no tax on overtime. Yeah.
Good.
And they got, hey, Charles.
Hey,
anyway,
Charles. I sent you a link, Charles.
Yeah, he probably just got in. They probably went out today and did their shopping.
Yep.
But yeah, there was a lot of things. The big holdup was the I think they called it the SALT, which is the level of deductibles related to taxes when it comes to, and they with states that have high property tax like New York and some of the Republicans that are in blue states, they said they needed that to be higher so that they have something to show their constituents, and
right.
And I think not everybody got everything they wanted. Not everybody got but everybody got something they wanted, and
Right. That's
it,
good.
for the most part, and it's what it's doing is it's solidifying so many of those uh, uh, executive orders. It
Oh,
wasn't good enough that Trump
hello,
had to.
Charles.
Hello, Charles. How you doing, buddy?
Howdy.
Well, it wasn't good enough that the executive orders. His next president comes in, boom, they're gone again. Just
They're gone.
went through this the first time, and who knows if we're going to win the next time. I think we will. I think right now we're standing a good chance, but you
Yep.
never know.
Yep.
If the
Anything
Republicans
can
can
happen.
find a way to take, they can take, they can snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory.
He sure can. He sure can. And here in Colorado, we've got two factions in the Republican Party. We got a new county chair, and she sounds pretty on the ball, where the last guy was a nutcase. So the two factions don't want to unify. The faction that followed the other guy, they're just.
Well, I think over time some of those factions will be dying off. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
right,
and
right,
it may take longer in some states. Colorado's gone so far to the left. You know, the only hope that Colorado has now is that they just keep going further and further left until they come around to the right.
right. Well,
Yeah.
and plus, the younger people are turning out to be more conservative than
Yeah.
the previous generation, and which is good. So
Yeah, it
it,
is.
I think I'm hoping that maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, those people will come in and turn things around, start voting R, and you get more R's in the
Well,
assembly. We could do stuff.
it kind of is going to depend on how things go because, if Colorado continues to stay to the left and everybody that's worth a flip leaves Colorado,
Yeah, that's true.
all they're going to
Mhm.
have, that's going to be a blue state until they all die off.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know,
That's
come the
true.
end of times, that's going to be
Mhm.
that's going to, they're going to be a blue state. So,
Oh,
but
guys.
yeah, they could be if they keep going, because that's what they're doing. They're running. The other problem we have is all of those mediocre liberals, the sort of, they're 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 left of center, but they're not far left.
Right.
Well, they don't like the way it is. They want to lower property tax, whatever. They go to other states like Texas and they start screwing that state up,
Right.
you
Hmm.
know, and that's where the conservatives really have to stay strong in what they do. These people start coming in from other states, just like they did Colorado. Colorado used to be a conservative state,
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
It used to be a deep red state. And then, when I moved back, it slowly started turning purple. And
Yeah,
then about 10, 15 years ago, Democrats slowly started chipping away. And then about 8 years ago, they flipped the
yeah,
state and made it blue. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And that's the problem we have in all states is we got to, you know, as conservatives, we have to make sure that you know, conservatives have to work with moderates,
Yeah, that's
uh, uh not leftists, but people, other Republicans that are maybe a little more moderate than we
right.
are,
Mhm.
and in some ways I'm a moderate compared to, on some things, but I'm a conservative on others, and that's, I'm more socially conservative or religiously conservative than I
Right.
am, say, well, if I was fiscally conservative, I wouldn't have all these toys I got around here that I've blown all my money on, and
Yep.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
there's a difference between how you spend your own money and how you think the government should spend everybody's money.
Oh, that's true too.
It's,
And in that respect, I am fiscally conservative when it comes to government money and everybody else's money. I agree
mhm,
with that. Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
You know, but sorry, trying to get my pipe stem was kind of leaning one side or the other and was driving me nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's and that's the thing we got to constantly be aware of. We got to remember this is, not everybody is identical because, otherwise we'd all be living in George Orwell's 1984,
Right. Mhm,
dystopian society that we're a bunch of working dredges,
mhm.
and we
Yeah,
don't want that. But yeah, it's but there's hope, and but when those uh when those liberals start walking into your town and telling you how you should, you know, how you who should be allowed to go into what bathrooms and everything else, like,
right.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's real simple. Male,
Oh,
female.
you want to hear something really screwy? Now here in Colorado, it's not only about the bathrooms and pronouns and shit like that. Oh, now if you call somebody the wrong pronoun, you could be sued.
Well, of course, that's because they're taken after England. England's the same damn way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
you say something not so nice, like us here on YouTube. We could be talking about, what a knobhead Prince Harry is. Oh, that's hate speech, and if we were in England,
Right.
they'd arrest us.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they don't like him either, they don't want him back. I
Mm-hmm.
should give him to Canada personally, but that's me. But
Yeah. So I mean, and I mean the trans community is here in Colorado has really gone off the deep end, and
they're off the deep end to start with. They
Oh
don't
yeah,
have far to
yeah.
go.
I was
well,
gonna say that.
not only that, but this bill will give another reason for Jack Phillips to be sued. If you don't know who Jack Phillips is, he's the guy who refused to bake a gay.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yep. And he's been sued several times and has won because of the U.S. Supreme Court has said, no, you can't do that. Now he's got to deal with this new law that'll probably and this is costing him money. I think
Oh yeah.
if you win a lawsuit like that, the Supreme Court says, hey, I think the other side should
Should
pay
have to
his.
pay the legal fees. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's the way it should be. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the other thing that I was talking about this. Uh, let's say Spanish. When you're talking about your brothers or your sisters, hermano, hermana. What do you use hermanas when you're talking about a trans? I mean,
Oh,
because they have they they a lot of languages have gender
yep.
in the terminology. Well, Filipino, right there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Right there.
That in itself. How do they deal? How are how are these languages supposed to deal with this?
Yep.
And the fact is they don't have to. They shouldn't have to. And
Right.
this is where this is a problem. And we've let these fruitcakes just try to run the country, and that's why the Democrats lost. And
Mm-hmm.
Colorado's going to end up being the armpit of the world if they keep letting these friggin' fruitcakes do this stuff.
Right.
What somebody does in their own bedroom if they want to, play
Yeah.
with monkeys and swing from chandeliers buck naked, Dave, all for them. You go ahead and do that, but I don't want to have to celebrate it for you. I don't want to have to
Right.
see
Mm-hmm.
it in a parade. I don't want to have to make a cake for you. Just get
Mm.
over yourself. Because
Right.
of course, now they all thought because Francis was so liberal, Pope Francis was so liberal, they thought, oh, we got another one coming. One of the first things he said was, marriage is between a man and a woman.
Ooh.
Pope Leo the
Leo.
14th.
Yeah.
I had to stop and think which one he was now. It's Pope Leo
Yeah.
the 14th.
Leo.
And
Yeah.
yeah, he
Not
came out.
Pius. Not
Huh?
Pius.
No, not Pius. Pius was
Not
before.
Clement.
No,
Not
Pius was before
Gregory.
John. It was in my lifetime. It's been Pius, Paul, John Paul the First, John Paul the Second, Benedict, Francis, and now
Leo.
Leo. And before Pius, there may have even I'd have to go look and see when
Mm-hmm.
Pius took over.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Pius took over before I was born. So
Yeah.
uh,
I
you
think
know,
Pius goes back to World War One, doesn't he?
no.
Unless there is another Pius.
Well, yeah, well, he was like Pope Pius the Seventh or Pope Pius the
Yeah.
Ninth or something like that.
Yeah.
No, he was Pope Pius the 12th.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
no, Leo the 13th. Well, Leo the 13th came in. He died in 1903, and I don't think Pius became the Pope until 1923. So I don't know who was between Leo the 13th, but I may be wrong. Pius may have been since World War One. But only reason I know about Leo the 13th is because I just watched a thing on, of all places, Pawn Stars.
Right.
That is pawn with an A, not an O. So you guys get your minds out of the gutter. It wasn't porn stars. It wasn't. It was an AW, not an OR. So, but anyways, uh, Rhode Island is always blue and always a corrupt mess. Yeah, Brian, I can. But Rhode Island's. I think I think some blue states are a little bit more tolerant than other blue states. You know.
Uh, Pius X was Pope from 03 to 14. So he may have died. Let's see. Oh, right at the beginning of War One, because that war I think started in July or August of 14.
Right. Right.
And then Benedict the Ninth was from 14 to 22, and Pius the 11th was 22 to 39, and then
Yeah. So
Pius the
Pius.
12th. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Pius from 1903. Before that was Leo. That was the last Leo. Leo is the one who helped bring about the acceptance by the church of the sciences and the industry because of the industrialization of the country or of the
Mhm.
world. He helped the churches understand that this was a gift given to them by God. The because they were still the church up until Leo the 13th, up until he came along. You know, the uh, the Earth was still the center of the universe as far as they were concerned.
Oh, okay.
They were still, maybe not quite that bad, but they were definitely anti-science up until he
Oh,
came along and he helped move them towards the modern age.
okay. They were more Amish before that.
Oh, way more. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. They just felt that they felt science was from Satan.
Blinded by science.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, but anyways,
Yes. And
so
so,
there's your papal history for the week.
yeah, papal history. Yep. Hmm.
But yeah, the LGBTQ, RDFG,
Yeah.
ABCD group
Mm.
are a little miffed with the current Pope Leo.
Ah, well, Good for them.
And he also doesn't think it's right for a pope to be consorting with people that are obviously sinning like that, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Uh he I don't know if he's came out I'm not sure if he's came out against the blessings of the marriages of the civil unions, but I think he has
Oh.
because he was sort of against it long before
Ooh.
uh Leo the current pope.
Right.
He whereas Francis said the blessing of unions was okay
Mm-hmm.
between gay marriages, gay unions. That was okay. He allowed priests to give blessings over it,
Okay.
which is sort of their version of recognizing a civil ceremony because sometimes people are married outside the church, but they come into the church and for whatever reason, it
Mm-hmm.
precludes them from. With Judy and I, we ended up actually actually having a Catholic wedding ceremony. And we'd been
Okay.
married for 25 years,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but anyways, but yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the way they did that. And when Francis said it was okay to bless same-sex unions, that really set off a lot of people.
Right.
But I think Leo has come out against that.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that. I do know that he said a marriage, which is considered one of the sacraments,
Right.
uh, one of the seven sacraments,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, he said it's only between a male and a female, a man and a woman,
Right. Mm-hmm.
you know, and he
Okay.
didn't say anything about there being a third sex.
Right. Or trans. Oh, maybe he's confused.
Yeah, like a man lives to be like what 70, 77, something like
Yeah.
that, and
Mm-hmm.
women live to be like 82. I'm thinking I could split the difference if I just start my transition now.
There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ain't gonna
Okay.
happen, folks. I guarantee
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm. Uh. Anyway, so with the big beautiful bill,
Yep.
so we got. Did they codify the tax cuts from his previous?
I don't know because I haven't had a chance to sort of. I haven't. I didn't watch all the news or listen to it. Some because I had a rough night last night, and when I woke up, I saw that it had happened, and then I got up and got around and went and got my grandson. Yeah, so I had to go
Mm,
wait in front of the school, and I was just half listening to it because I had other things I was thinking about.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
But
think the tax cuts are in it.
yeah, the
Oh,
tax cuts are in it. Yeah, the tax cuts are in it. Yeah.
good, good.
So
So that's made permanent. And what about lowering the corporate tax from what was it, 21 to 15?
well, I don't know. I don't know about
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really hit on what I was listening to. Didn't hit on that, but
Because I think if they did that,
I think
that would,
Trump's pretty. Whatever it was, Trump's pretty happy. So
yeah. If
so
they did that, they'll probably offset what the tariffs are doing, because when you raise corporate taxes, you're really raising the cost of goods, and that raises the
right,
price of,
right, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So if you
I mean that
lower the
anybody
tax,
with any, and I don't understand how we keep electing these idiots, but anybody with any brains ought to know that you know they're going to pass that cost on to us. You know.
right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a
Now
tax on the
the other
company;
side of
it's
that
a
coin
tax
is
on all of us.
yeah, but the other side of that is I think when a corporation starts getting tax breaks, I think that prices should come down.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
although they as long as they're rolling it back into the business, which creates more jobs, that's also good for the country too. So
That's right.
yeah,
That's
but
right.
that's the other thing. companies can't expand if their tax rate is too high. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
their tax rate's too high, and hello, cool cat. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Anyways, if the tax rates are too high, companies cannot make a profit. So, in order to make a profit, they've got to raise prices. Well, then when prices
Mm-hmm.
go up, people can't afford to, so sales go down, and then it's just a, you know, and then the next thing they got to do is, well, we're going to have to cut back on jobs, and then we got the unemployment level rising, and
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand. I mean, I'm no mathematician, and I'm damn sure not an economist, but
No.
I do have enough brains to know, and I just don't understand these senators and congressmen up there, especially on the Democratic side. I mean, they can't look at the Soviet Union and see that it didn't work. Marxism
No.
and socialism does not work,
But
you know?
Lloyd, they'll do it better. They
Of
did
course
it
they
wrong.
will.
They
Yeah.
they always somebody comes along and says, "Well, but they did it wrong. We'll do it better." You know,
Yeah.
we know what the mistakes they made, and
Right.
then somebody does it and it fails again, and the cycle keeps
Oh, yeah. It's
because
never.
it sounds so nice. It's
Oh, yeah.
equality.
It's that
They just
utopia that everybody,
yeah, it's a
you know,
utopia. Yeah,
they think it's going to be like Star Trek, where
uh,
everybody gets along,
right.
Well, Star
Mhm.
Trek wasn't that great. They couldn't even cure baldness.
That's right, and
Look
they
at
still had
Picard.
hustlers. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah. They still had people out hustling,
hardcore fitting in,
And look at
mud.
Star Wars. Star Wars was a perfect example of
Mhm.
the evil empire, and
Right.
good
Mhm.
versus evil. And it's just like,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
but anyways, and that's just, I don't know at what level you can reach these people on because they
Right.
just don't care,
Yeah.
you know.
They either don't care or they don't understand. And I think part of that is our education system.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
well before uh ed the the ed department,
Right.
Department of Education.
Oh yeah, and
We
now a
had
judge has
really
stepped
good
in. Yeah, judge has stepped in and told Trump he's got to hire all those people back from the Department of Education.
oh, oh, mm,
He's got to reinstate everybody from the Department of Education that he laid off.
I, that's I don't get it. It's how does a judge who doesn't have power over the president because they're co-equal,
They're
you
co-equals,
know,
yeah.
it's kind of like telling you, "Hey, boss, you can't do that. I want a raise, and I want it now. No, I want longer coffee breaks. Sorry,
Yeah,
bud. You know,
yeah. It's like I see these guys. I saw a guy the other day, or no, somebody, they had a nice car was parked there, and they had a sign on there, need help, need money. It's like, I was just reading on Facebook the other day about Kentucky Fried Chicken is understaffed. They were having
oh,
problems. They don't have enough people working there. Well, these people that need money, go get a job at
okay,
KFC.
yeah. Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm,
these people that want these things, go get a job. You know,
mm-hmm.
that's a new concept. Work for your money. I think that's a
Yeah.
conflict my son and my grandson have been having is that my grandson is like, well, the younger of the two, Patrick's youngest two, he's autistic, but he turned 18. And his uncle James says, "So you're 18 now, so you're going to move out and get a job and take care of yourself now, right?" He says, "No, that's not until I'm 21." Okay, when did that come into effect? You know,
Mm-hmm.
of course, with him, it's understandable, but unfortunately, his older brother kind of has that idea that, hey, I'm still on mom and dad's insurance till I'm 26. So does that mean I get to live at home?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Sounds like some relative I know. Not me, but somebody's youngest kid doing that.
Well, and my grandson's a good kid, but he's also, his mother, I think, has spoiled him a little bit. Well,
Mhm.
bless her heart, I love her to death, but she spoiled that kid worthless. And
Yeah.
of course, I'm the kind of grandpa, I don't give him, I give him crap all the time about it.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like, oh, you ain't got a job. I said, and I told him, I said, I've seen at least 3 or 4
Yeah.
McDonald's around town that have, well, but I've got a degree. I went to school to be an IT specialist. I said, any monkey with a wrench could become an IT specialist. I said, you're nobody special.
Uh,
He wasn't
yeah.
too fond of
Well,
that.
I, yeah, I just can't tell that to my niece about that because I gotta stay in my own lane, and I don't want to get into that storm. So
Oh
I
yeah,
just I
yeah.
just keep out of that, and it's like it's not my problem. She wants to.
Well, my grandkids all know that I give them shit. And I'm
Mhm.
gonna and my kids know that I'm gonna give them shit. And
Mm,
I try not to overstep. You
right.
know the the courtesy they give to me for being a grumpy grandpa. They let me slide on a lot of things. A lot of times it's like, oh, Dad, Jesus. And I try not to step on my daughter-in-law's toes too much. And
Right.
but this conversation was going on between my grandson, my son, and myself, and the three of us were kind of, you know.
Mhm.
And fortunately, my daughter-in-law was on the other side of the table, not listening. So,
Hey, Don. Hmm.
hey, Don, welcome.
So
Uh,
what else is going on?
Well, we got the shooting
Oh yes, that's right. In DC.
in
Uh,
DC, that shooting at the Jewish
Holly-
museum there, right
yeah.
down the road. There were 2 people from the Israeli embassy,
Is yes.
two diplomats. A lot
Uh,
of irony in that one,
hmm.
as I've observed and listened to it over the day.
Right.
You know, I find it very strange that the guy who did the confessed killer of this, of course,
Uh-huh.
he did it for, you know, free Gaza,
Yeah.
Hezbollah, as he
Yeah.
yelled.
Palestine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he goes, or free Palestine, Hezbollah, free, yeah, anyway. Somebody was shouting Hezbollah after he would say that. Either he was saying it or whatever. But his name was Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. And let me
Oh,
guess, he's probably 20 something, maybe a
yeah, he's about
college
20
grad,
something. Yeah,
maybe
something like that.
somebody from, I don't
But
know, George
that
Washington,
was the
Columbia.
that was the first thing. The second thing is very sad because this couple was fixing to go back to Israel, and he'd already bought the ring, and they were going to get engaged next week, this next weekend, or this weekend, I guess.
Right.
And but what's really the bad thing is what this guy, he thought, because okay, these are Jews, I'm going to kill the Jews. That was his thing, right? He was going to kill Israelis. Well, that's fine. The young man, or the woman, the young lady, she was Jewish. She practiced Judaism. Both her parents were Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the young man, his mother was Jewish, but his father was Christian, and he was a devout Christian. He wasn't a Jew. As far as he didn't practice Judaism, he was a Jew by blood,
Mm-hmm.
and he was an Israeli by nationality, but he was a Christian by faith, you know,
Right.
so or by religion. And so this guy really, this
Right.
just shows, and that goes to show you how clueless these people are. They think just because, you know, well, we can kill them, and that's the anti-Semitism. Yeah, I guess if you look at it from the point of his ethnicity, yeah, he was half
Mm-hmm.
Jewish. But when you look at it from his religious point of view, he was a very devout Christian from all reports. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because they're ignorant. They're teaching ignorance, and
That's right. Oh, and there are also Arabs that live in Israel.
there are. There are.
Yeah.
Now,
And
here's something. Speaking of that, with the anti-Semitism, Harvard's had some problems lately because of their riots and protests. His mother was Jewish. He was Jewish. It's a matriarchal. Yes, he was Jewish, as I said, by ethnicity, but he practiced Christianity. That's the thing with the Jews is, they're Jewish by faith, by ethnicity, and by nationality. The Jewish nation of Israel, the Jewish religion Jewish religion of Judaism, and the Jewish ethnicity, or the part of the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so yeah, Don, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is a matriarchal society,
and they make great coffee.
Okay, well, I don't know about that. I just
Hebrews.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But here's something. Harvard, they're getting hammered because because they won't give a list to the government of the students that are protesting, that are, the foreign students that are protesting.
Right.
Starting this next year, they will no longer be able to accept any foreign students. They're not revoking the visa of the students that are going there, but as of next year, no foreign students will be allowed to go to Harvard.
Okay.
So that's just, and that's where their bread and butter was
right.
Was foreign students. They have been removed from the foreign exchange program.
That's good.
So,
that's good.
Yeah. The best path to becoming an atheist is to read the Bible. Can't say that I agree with that, but that's because I have a different point of view. Again, can't say I agree with you there, Don, but you are absolutely entitled to your opinion. And
that's right. And we won't ban you from that for that.
No.
We won't, we won't
you won't
force
quit being my
to...
friend because you have a different point of view. Even my son and I don't have the same points of view. I have a lot of friends that are, some are atheists and some are just agnostic, and that's how I did it. Well, like I said, I'm not. I love you too, Don. But that's the thing. We can have differences of opinion. To me, faith has meant a lot in my life. And I have reasons for that. But that's my reasons. Other people have their reasons for what they believe. So.
Yep. And I don't care what kind of car you drive, even if it's a Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
People are all upset about a Tesla. Jeez.
Speaking of Teslas, let me. Jeff started his chemotherapy today.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be doing it every 2 weeks. They're still got to do another procedure, but they can't do that till sometime next week. Let me answer this real quick. Doing a show.
Oh, yeah. They want to get rid. They want to expel Representative LaMonica in New Jersey. She's the one that shoved that ICE agent, that cop.
Yeah.
So she, I guess, saying she didn't do nothing. If I pulled that crap, I would have been on the concrete in cuffs within pushing around ICE. Hey, I mean, pushing an ICE officer is just like pushing a cop. You just don't do that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of wanting to take away their privileges as far as a representative goes, there's the one up in what is it, Maine? She was
Yeah.
a state house representative, and she'd been censured and was not allowed to vote in any of it. And apparently, it came back from the Supreme Court that because she had made a comment about the trans situation, and they've got one of these real liberal trans laws, and it's about allowing men in women's bathrooms or
Oh,
men in girls' locker rooms, or boys in girls'
boys and
locker
girls.
rooms. Yeah. And she made a comment about it, and that was considered, you know, uh,
Hate speech.
unethical. Yeah. So yeah, it was free speech, but she wrote it on Twitter, and it was considered unethical. So they censured her and took away all of her ability to vote on any bills. Well, the Supreme Court has come back and said, nope, you can't do that.
Oh, okay. Now go ahead and give us a scoop on Jeff. I'm sorry if I interrupted, but
Okay. He
yeah.
he started his. Let me see if I got it.
Yeah. You got
Let's
your
see.
list. Put your readers on. So,
Yeah, well, I have to take him off actually. His chemotherapy is for today. The two drugs mix are PAC Lexatal is a protein bound and Lexi drugs and a I don't know another type of drugs. So he's going to taking two drugs. The thing was uh they're supposed to be venting his G tube to be placed and on May 26th, but they got to wait until he's off of uh the blood thinners, and that will be up. And the other day they were in there because he had an aneurysm down in where the incision that they when they did the stent. Well, it started, and he was about so they were putting pressure on it. She called it an aneurysm. But he was on blood thinners because he had a clot in his lung and he had clots in his leg. So they were trying to thin that down, and then he had the stent, and then all of a sudden it started bleeding. So uh, for 2 days they were coming in, every so often, like taking turns, kind of pressing this down. This an aneurysm, of course, is a ballooning in it, and they were trying to
right.
get it to go back into shape. And apparently it worked.
Oh,
So then they're able to start his chemo today. So that's where we're at. And hopefully by I think uh they're shooting for around the 1st of June for him to get out of the hospital.
okay. Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. So,
but
yeah, Don and Cool Cat are talking about some show or something.
yeah. But yeah, so that's the update. He
Oh,
started
the
his
show
chemo.
is called Everything Everywhere. Okay.
Oh
All at
yeah,
once.
yeah.
All right. Now I got it. Okay.
But anyways, so they
Yes.
started on the he was supposed to have his first one this evening. So and I think it's for every 2 weeks. Every other week he goes, for I don't 5 treatments of chemo.
Right.
You know,
Did they put the port in?
I don't know. I don't know. She
Yeah,
hadn't
because
said
usually when you get chemo, you get a
a
port
port. Yeah,
right put in right up there. And I learned about this several years ago from a YouTuber that I had been watching, and he had colon cancer. And
right.
I think they caught it fairly early. I think it was second or third degree, third
Right.
stage,
Yeah.
and he's doing really well now. No, no sign of cancer at all. Yeah, which is great. But
Well, and of course I know about ports too because with Judy, every time we went in there, do you have a port? No, she doesn't because she didn't do
okay.
chemo. But my sister had a port because she had to go in. She didn't have any kidneys, and so she had to go in for dialysis 3 times a week.
Oh, okay.
They removed her kidneys about 5 years before she passed away. She lived 5 years without any kidneys at all.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
which I didn't know you could do that, but you can
Yeah. I mean, you got to be on dialysis, what, twice a week or
3 times a week,
3 times a week?
Monday,
Boy,
Wednesday, and Friday. Yep.
right. Mm hmm.
And they do a little extra if she was going anywhere, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes they would even set it up to where she could do it at a hospital locally. You know, if she's going to be here for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Don.
Early.
Early semicolon cancer. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I have a friend. He's an old comedian friend. I've known him for years and years. He had stage 4 colon cancer. This was when he was still living in Detroit. And they didn't think he was going to make it, but he beat it. But one thing he got out of it, hey, he got a colostomy bag. Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle had that too. He had to go. He had one. God, he lived 25 years, I think, with his colostomy.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
My dad almost ended up with one because they took out about a third of his lower intestines or colon because he had diverticulitis really bad. And when they got him into surgery, as soon as they opened him up, he just blew up. So they had to go in and
do a resection.
All inside out, and
they had to do what's called a resection.
Yeah, they did that.
A lot of times with the resection, they'll do a temporary colostomy.
Right.
You know.
Well, luckily for him, they didn't have to do that. They were able to clean him out, put everything back in. So that was the second time we almost lost him, and first time, and I was a kid. The first time he had a really bad ulcer, and we almost lost him then. And I think I was 8 or 9 years old when that happened. And
yeah, my dad was in the hospital and he had about half his stomach removed from ulcers, you know.
Right. Yeah, he had stomach surgery where they cut the vagus nerve so he wasn't hungry all the time.
Right.
And that stopped the acid from building up. And that's where the problem was.
Right,
and
right.
They did
well, now they've got a whole different way of treating it that they didn't have back then.
Yeah, ha ha ha. That's funny, Don. How original. Uh-huh.
You're the first one I've seen
annex it. I bet he didn't. Xanax it, yeah.
He didn't think I was funny. Yeah, I'll bet he didn't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my dad had stomach issues,
right,
for a long time. Hey, there's Bill, Uncle Bill. Hey, Bill.
Uncle Bill.
Yeah, thanks. Hit the thumbs up, guys. That helps with the algorithm. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that'll fix up my.
That must be where they got the name. He goes, because Al Gore invented the internet. Now this is all on the internet, so it's called the algorithm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where they got that. Now I hadn't even put those two together, but makes sense now. And that's also why it lies to you about how many views you got, and the next time they take it away.
Yeah,
that's like something Al Gore would do too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you watch my other channel, Art Code Drones and Entertainment, last week I got 150 views. I thought, oh wow, the show's doing better than last week. And then a few days later, I checked, and I'm like, holy shit, it's down to 85. What's going on? And for the life of me, I can't. I guess Bill Thomas, he's had same problem with
his I've been hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Excuse me, guys. I had a bad night last night. No. I've just got the yawns. I'm literally going to go in there right after I get through with this show and go lay down and go to sleep.
Yep, I'll be heading to bed in about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
let's see. What else was it we didn't cover? Let's see. We've talked about Charles. What other things in the news that we might have missed?
Yeah.
Well, the only the only things I can think of are things from like the entertainment front. The fact
Okay.
that Disney uh, through Lucasfilm and Marvel is just put out one bad movie right after another. However, it does look like that the new live action remake of Lilo and Stitch uh, could could be a big hit.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
At
seen
least for
some of
kids.
the previews of that. That looks interesting. I'd even check that one out. When stuff that I heard about Snow White, I just thought,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, speaking
And
of,
it's all. I mean, I haven't seen it, but having listened to interviews and the aftermath and everything from it, it's all correct. Everything you heard is correct and worse.
thank you, Brian. You're right. The South
Mhm.
African president.
Oh yes,
Oh
that's
yeah,
Oh
right.
my God. Yeah, that was a winner,
Okay.
wasn't it?
Yeah, that was something
Could
about
we
white
lower the
chicks.
lights and let the show begin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed that video and it's like, he called him on it,
Hmm.
and I
And
thought,
they wouldn't even look at the TV. They had their backs to the TV while one of their representatives, he's like looking over, watching it, and
yeah,
yeah,
Marco Rubio, he really nailed he really ticked off one of the
Van
senators.
Hollen.
Yeah, I thought what was funny, he says, I kind of regret voting for you. And he says, thank you. That means I'm doing my job right.
Yeah, mhm.
You
That's
got to yeah, I thought it was great. And speaking of studios and stuff, CBS, the CEO just resigned
oh,
from CBS
oh,
News. Yeah, she was on her way out anyways. They
uh,
lost the producer for 60 Minutes about a
right,
month ago. He got fired.
right,
But see, they've got this lawsuit by Donald Trump
hmm,
over the Kamala interview that it was showing, partiality to a candidate for president,
right, hmm,
and they're trying to settle that, and they're trying to realign themselves to a more centrist point of view, and
oh,
they're
that's what they're
getting
called.
they're getting rid of yeah, so they've thrown two people under the bus now over
Oh,
that. They got
oh,
rid of the CEO of CBS uh
mm,
by the went by the wayside. Yeah.
right.
Another
Now
one of those woke people.
is Colbert on CBS or ABC?
He's on ABC, I think.
Okay. If they get rid of him and Kimmel and Seth
No, no,
Meyers.
no. Colbert is on CBS. Uh
Okay.
that may because Kimmel is on ABC.
No, he's on NBC. He took over Jay Leno's show.
No, that's Jimmy
What's-
Fallon is on NBC. Jimmy Kimmel is on
Okay.
ABC.
Okay. I get.
Jimmy Fallon is actually entertaining. He can sing and he has,
Right.
he kind of, I can tolerate him. He doesn't really, uh, but yeah, it's Kimmel is on, Kimmel is sort of, I don't know, there's something about him. But,
Yeah.
oh, and we can't forget, bless his heart, the former president of the United States, has stage 4 of the worst prostate
Right.
cancer. And, there's a
Right.
lot of questions now about who was running the auto pen because he
Right.
obviously was all the specialists are saying that there's no way that cancer just came up in 2 months.
Right. Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, it takes years to get to the level of cancer that
Yes.
he's got.
Mm-hmm.
And he, in all likelihood, and what they're looking at now uh, is that the people that were in the inner circle, some of them were Sandinistas, Sanders supporters,
Okay.
and they were able to pass all of their Sanders deals because the president was like, he had no clue what was going on for 4 years, which,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and look at all the people coming out about that. It's not just the cancer thing, but all the people are saying, how
Oh, we were duped.
we were duped. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
You
they're
guys
making
were
books out of it.
implicit in hiding it. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
give me that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like Tappert and,
Tapper, oh, shit.
yeah. And
If he was really a journalist, he'd probably press the president on that.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? No.
Yeah. No. And, it's, their hens are coming home to roost, and,
Yep. Mhm.
uh, you know, unfortunately, it's really starting to look, uh, the African crazy bastard smiled because if you smile, you can still call your accuser crazy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just as one of the things about that is Donald Trump said he's still looking into it,
Mm-hmm.
but Rubio said that he's taken on, and the reason he was there for that conference is he has granted 15 different farmers in South Africa asylum because their people were being killed off, and they came to the U.S. Embassy to seek asylum. But
Right.
they're, and of course, then they've got those representatives or those people in the South African Parliament saying that we'll kill them. We're taking their farms, and if we have to, we'll kill them all.
Yeah.
And that was part of that video. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to deny that when it's just right out there.
Right.
But
Right.
apparently, they must all be Democrats over there too, because look at how
Yeah.
it was all out there about Biden, but yet they denied it for 4 years.
That's right. And also, they probably hid his cancer diagnosis, thinking, we want to keep him from running again because we know that if he wins, he's not going to survive. He may not even survive to inauguration. So
Well,
that's my theory.
yeah, there's a lot of now they're looking at if Hunter and Jill had anything to do with running the auto pen. They gave them their pardons because apparently the pardons were done with the auto pen. So
Interesting.
it's looking like they're really looking into it now that all of those pardons may be null and void. Yeah.
Mm. Downside is then Fauci could use Fifth Amendment or the Fifth, plead the Fifth if he has to.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Let him plead the Fifth. He has that right.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean he can't be prosecuted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
what is that? Is ubiquitous over MSN
Yeah, we're using
and
big words, Lloyd.
Yeah, I know. I was having trouble reading it too. There we go. It's in bigger print.
Mm-hmm.
Conspiracy being a theory is ubiquitous over MSM and Wikipedia. All state-sponsored media perpetuate the same mythical BS.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to say, oh, no, that's just. But when you got it, I don't know. We'll see. I just thought it was funny, and this is the one thing he's not taking crap from people. Just like Zelensky. At least with this time, at least they got a lunch out of the deal.
Right.
It wasn't so bad that he threw him out. But he did call one of the NBC reporters an evil person. I think he says you're just an evil person during his press conference. So, so yeah, Donald Trump, he's not been, and of course, like he went down there and talked with the yesterday went down to talk to the Republicans in the House, and last night they passed that bill. So, or this morning, what is it? The Wait, the big wonderful bill? Is that
Yeah,
what
the
it
big
is?
beautiful bill.
Beautiful
Big
bill.
beautiful bill, yeah.
The
The
BBB.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I
That
heard
event,
the other day that the Senate passed the no tax on tips unanimously.
Yeah.
yeah. I think of course now, that's one segment of it, but
Right.
they've set there in this getting it done by Memorial Day. That was a timeline that the House actually set upon themselves. The Senate,
Uh-huh.
they're giving themselves a little more time. They're 4th of July. I think they'd like to get it done for the 250th anniversary of the United States. I think that's
Uh-huh.
what everybody's shooting for.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, before the 4th of July, he'll have that on his desk. He'll have it signed, and then a lot of those lawsuits just may go by the wayside.
There you go.
Because once it's law,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure they'll probably try and say part of that law is unconstitutional about
Mm-hmm.
something or another. But
Right.
I thought it was a good job of the House, and a lot of people weren't sure about Johnson. I certainly wasn't sure of him, but
Mm-hmm.
even Joaquin Jeffries he didn't put up much of a fight. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of doing like I can't remember who the Republican was a few years back. They got up there, spoke for 8 hours, delaying the vote. And it's
Mm-hmm.
when we didn't have control. Jeffries got up there and talked for 30 minutes and then went off, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Jeffries is seeing, and it either shows how weak his leadership is that he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't willing to do longer, or
Mm-hmm.
how he realizes all of that crap just isn't doing any good.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. July 4th,
29.
2020.
That's right. This is
Yeah.
25. Yes. Yeah. You're right. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Brian knows
thinking of the
this.
bicentennial where they started celebrating it like in 75 and it went through 77, It's like
Mm-hmm.
uh
Well,
because
you got a party like the
Lexington happened in
70s.
75, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
shot that was heard around the world was happened in 1775. So
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. All right. I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming. It's good to see you, and hope you all have a great Memorial Day weekend. God bless, and catch you next time. Bye-bye.
later,
Good night.
Good night,
everyone.
folks.
God bless.